eighth wonder of the world, basically a geek show. And here are your hosts, Mike and Jack.
Welcome to episode 70 of basically a fucking geek show. This is
70.
This is Jack, and with me is a somewhat inebriated Mike. Wave to the crowd, Mike.
Pardon?
I said wave to the crowd, Mike. Both of them. There's Tom and there's Phil right over there.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually going to be a bit of a different show. I originally imagined that 69, giggity, through 71, less giggity, would be a three-part Warcraft thing, and we're still planning on doing that. We talked about the Warcraft movie in 70. Tonight we're going to be talking about the pre-Legion patches and launch events, and then 71 will be after Legion has launched, and Jack and I can give you our thoughts on what we think the start of the expansion looks like. But we're gonna save that till the end because there are a few non-Warcraft related things I actually want to go on touch on before we get to the pre-Legion launch stuff, if that's okay.
Yeah, as long as you can remember how to words.
I'll try my best. It's Miller time here, folks, by the way, just so y'all know. Anyway, the first thing I wanted to talk about, and is actually, and it's something that we decided that we weren't going to cover, Jack, and I haven't brought this up with you now, but I want to talk about it now because I think circumstances have unfolded that have vindicated your opinion, my opinion, and even though we never talked about it as
right.
choice, I figure now that we have been proven correct, we could perhaps break that embargo to gloat.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Okay, so Ghostbusters 2016. I think I speak for both of us when I say, and I know this has sort of become a cliched thing, but it's still something we have to say, I don't think anyone between the two of us, and I know basically a sports show founder and regular guest Andy, he was very anti this movie too, and I know Andy's not here, but just having spoken with him about it, I can say that Andy's opinions sort of echo our own. Our issues with this movie had nothing to do with the fact that, it was a female casting decision. That was not the problem.
I guess their vaginas couldn't stop bleeding long enough to act. I mean, no, we had no issues with it being women.
I mean, fuck women, what?
What, exactly, what?
But, no, okay, I know you haven't seen it, Jack.
No, and I will not.
And I saw it. I was actually going off James Rolfe, a.k.a. the Angry Video Game Nerd. I was actually really digging what he was putting down. I made the choice, unlike him, I was going to see the movie because, to me, the experience of going to a movie, I kind of just dig the whole theater experience. I like seeing movies just as a time killer. That's just sort of something that I do. And I liked the original one, the original Ghostbusters. I actually saw it again recently. After I saw this one, I rewatched the original run for the first time in years, and I was kind of blown away by just how well the original holds up. But so I like the original. And given all the controversy around the 2016 one, I felt like I had to see it just out of curiosity. Like I had to see what all of this was amounting to, and. But I met you halfway, Jack. I didn't actually pay to see it.
Yeah, you went to see Independence Day 2 for a second time.
Yes.
Yeah, and then theater hopped, yeah.
Yeah, so Independence Day 2 was by no means a stellar movie, but I felt much better giving my money to Lim a second time than giving the Paul Feig fart machine the money. And you know what? I'm kind of regretting that decision because looking at these box office returns, if I had actually paid to see that money, I could probably have gotten that money back, as a tax write-off, as like a charitable donation.
So basically what happened is this movie, believe they said they needed to make, what, 700 million?
No, not 700. It wasn't that bad. Well, not near. So they said that it would need around 300 million to break even.
Okay.
And 500 million to make an acceptable profit to justify a franchise.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
And so, we're now, God, how long has it been?
3 weeks?
3 weeks. It hasn't even broken 200 million.
Yeah.
It hasn't even broken 200 million at the box office. It was sitting at 193 million, last I checked earlier today. And this is a movie that saw a 53% drop off. It's opened up promisingly enough, although it needs to be stated that it didn't even open at number 1. It opened at number 2 behind The Secret Life of Pets, which was already in its second week, by the way. It lost out to the second weekend of Secret Life of Pets. But it's still open to around 46 million, which it's decent. A decent opening. Not gangbusters, but it's a promising start. Tickets dropped by 53% for the second weekend.
Yeah, well, that first weekend was made up of 2 types of people. The simply curious, and the people that seem to be further just putting forth this notion that to see or to not see this movie is some kind of fucking political statement. Exactly.
I wanted to talk about that, because Sony, we can now confirm, has been, and when I say we, I don't mean the Bags investigative team on Douglas. No. I'm just saying I'm just kind of reporting to you, dear listeners, what's already kind of been proven by other folks.
We have an investigative team?
I mean, we could.
How?
Where? I could Google.
Our fucking stuff. Cats?
I could do some Googling, I guess I could count.
I suppose.
But anyway, basically what Sony was doing was they were going through all the comments on the official trailer, which is the most disliked trailer in the history of the internet, and consider the fact that the Battlefield Earth cinematic trailer is actually out on YouTube. So put that in perspective.
The most unliked film since Rise of a Nation. And I just accidentally kicked my cat in the head. Oh, God.
Anyway.
Hey, the Ghostbusters logo does kind of look like a Klansman. I'm just saying.
We'll get to the Ghostbusters logo, because the end of this movie is them actually fighting the Ghostbusters. The Ghostbuster logo. So, this movie actively hates the Ghostbusters, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Because what Sony was doing was they were going through the comments on the trailer, and they were deleting general negative comments and leaving the blatantly misogynistic comments. They were basically, Sony knew this movie was unfunny. They knew it sucked. And what they did was they used the feminism angle to try to create a narrative, which is we probably can't get people to see this movie off the basis of the trailer because it's garbage. But if we can convince people that going to this movie is a political act, then that'll create sort of a false audience. And that's what they tried to do.
And I guess it kind of succeeded partially in a way, except that audience that they created is so goddamn small and stupid that it wasn't enough to propel this movie to any kind of anything resembling financial success.
Well, at the end of the day, word of mouth is going to trump everything. Word of mouth is going to trump everything. And look, I saw this movie. It's just not good. All right, it is base of base humor. It is the basis of base humor, and not even in a good way. I mean, it's just so cringeworthy. And then, this is going to be kind of parroting Red Letter Media a bit, but I think it bears repeating that this is a movie that the ending scene turns into, like, a generic action scene. And it's like, the end of Ghostbusters wasn't an action movie ending.
And also, you know what else they did in the original Ghostbusters? They busted ghosts.
Yeah. In this movie, the original, like, the Ghostbusters in this movie don't actually bust or capture a single ghost. They capture one ghost, and then they, like, accidentally let it out. Way, very meta, in that they're bad at their jobs. They're bad at being Ghostbusters, and that's a very meta... That's a bold directing choice on Paul Feig's part.
Well, what I think is funny is basically, the original... And I think we touched on this in an earlier episode, but the original cast from the good Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, was in this movie.
Well,
basically...
Harold Ramis wasn't on account of him being dead.
Well, yeah, he had a legitimate reason to not show up, though Sony may still look at possible litigation.
They had to threaten to sue Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson to get them to appear in this.
And what's really funny is, like, you see on this talk show, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel or...
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel Live, yeah.
And you got fucking Bill Murray sitting there.
Who looks so fucking disinterested, by the way.
Right, he's sitting there, and I swear to God, he's just totally... I know Bill Murray always kind of looks kind of zoned out anyway, but he looks like really, like, off in fucking La La Land.
And he had been, very on and off about whether or not he was going to do a Ghostbusters 3, and so Jimmy Kimmel asked him, like, hey, you've been very tentative about doing anything Ghostbusters related for a while now. Why are you going to be in this one? And Bill Murray just says, of, like, the most I don't give a fuck voice, these women are very funny, and yeah.
Yeah.
Can you leave me alone now, Sony?
Yeah. Well, because these women are funny. I mean, that's pretty much, like, no exaggeration. That's basically the tone of voice that he uses for that.
And it's funny because, and then you have Ernie Hudson who flat out said, I think this movie's not very good until, Sony again threatened to sue him. And
even then, he still didn't. He's like, I think it's funny, but there are a lot of people that have a problem with this movie, and I can understand that.
He basically just said, I just think there are a lot of fans who just, this isn't what they want out of the franchise, and I understand that. And people were like, misogynist!
Right? My whole thing with this movie, if I do need to reiterate, I don't think I do, but I will just for the fuck of it. It had nothing to do with it being about women. I mean, for fuck's sake, the nerd geek culture, whatever, we have historically embraced strong female protagonists.
I mean, you talk to any...
We love to masturbate to them.
I mean, you talk to any gamer who remembers the 16-bit or the 8-bit era of video games. They'll tell you one of the most awesome moments of video game history is finding out Samus Aran is a woman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You got Samus Aran, a Ripley from Alien. I mean, for fuck's sake, the protagonist of the new Star Wars movie is a chick, and nerddom couldn't stop blowing that movie.
Right, yeah. No one gave a shit. No one cared.
Mm-hmm.
That was the... that movie on the whole was done very well. I had some issues with it, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, no one gave a...
perfect. Okay.
No, it's really not, but whatever.
Hey, you want to compare it to Ghostbusters?
Compared to Ghostbusters, Battlefield Earth is a piece of cinema master...
I wouldn't go that far.
Work. I totally fucking would. But, I mean... this movie, it did decent-ish for one weekend. Mm-hmm. And, since
Although, again, I have to reiterate, in its decent opening weekend, it still lost to a movie which is basically Toy Story with the toys replaced by dogs.
In its second week.
In its second week, yes.
So, But maybe some good will come of this, right? I mean,
there is good to come out of this, because in perhaps a huge sign, in perhaps God teaching us all something about hubris. Some Sony bigwig, it wasn't Rothman, the CEO, it was someone else. It was one of his underlings. Basically came out and said, it's not a matter of if there's going to be a sequel. There definitely will be a sequel, and he said that at the premiere. They have... I don't want to say they've walked back on that, because they haven't said there's definitely not going to be a sequel, but they've basically switched the talking point from we're going to have a sequel to we're going to have an animated show scheduled for 2018. And interestingly enough, the creative director behind that is going to be Ivan Reitman, the director of the first two Ghostbusters movies and the executive producer of the real Ghostbusters cartoon show.
Yeah, so invariably, I don't know for sure. We don't know. I mean, they've only said that they're going to do this, but I'm willing to bet money now that animated series will be infinitely better than this fucking movie.
Well, again, and I want to mention Ivan Reitman because there's a whole story in this new Ghostbusters movie of how he got fucked over. Ivan Reitman, again, the director of the first two movies, apparently had a contract of Sony that if there was going to be a third Ghostbusters movie, he had the right to direct and have complete creative control if he chose to exercise it. Sony management didn't fucking want him to do it for some reason, and basically forced him out, brought in Paul Feig, and told Paul Feig, you don't even have to keep it in continuity, you can reboot it. And that's what happened. And I'm just going to say, in general, I think Paul Feig's an asshat. I liked Bridesmaids. Everything else he's done has been mediocre to disgusting.
Yeah, that's pretty much my take on it too.
And
I found Bridesmaids to be, I wouldn't say good. I would say it didn't offend me.
Mm-hmm. So, that's a sort of...
Yeah.
That's just sort of my take on it. I feel there's a degree of vindication here, because it got to a point where, look, if you were over 20, if you were a male Ghostbusters fan over 20, you got labeled a misogynist right off the bat if you did not fall in love with this movie.
Yeah, and I hope that this sends a message, the objective failure of this movie, I hope it sends a message, not just to Sony, but to Hollywood in general, to stop fucking remaking everything and making it suck.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my whole thing with it. It's like, okay, if you're going to do this, then by God, you've got to do it right. And every indication about this fucking movie, from the get-go, from there, not just saying, oh, well, this happens to have an all-female cast, them, touting it as like an advertising feature. From the start, they were trying to make this into some kind of progressive political statement. And
which is laughable when you consider it.
It's a statement that doesn't even need to be made.
It's a statement that doesn't even need to be made. And on top of that, out of all the movies that you can rally behind some sort of gender equality statement, you're going to choose this movie? This movie's got, this movie has queef jokes, for crying out loud.
I mean, is that female empowerment? Is that going to be the message of female empowerment? Because, you can say a lot about the fart joke. You can say a lot of funny things about the fart joke. You can say a lot of true disparaging things about the fart joke. No one is going to claim with a straight face that the fart joke is a sign of male empowerment. So, I don't understand, so the queef joke in this movie, it's that's how you're going to
that is going to be your gender equality message. That's going to be how this is going to be the movie that you waste that capital on.
So basically, you have this supposed bold reimagining of the Ghostbusters, and what we ended up getting were jokes about pussy farts.
Mm-hmm.
The only pussy fart I see here is Paul Feig.
Oh yeah, well he is a massive tool.
But anyways, so yeah, it came, it saw, it fell on its ass, and
yeah, I mean, I think there's a degree of vindication now. Just a few more factoids to throw out, and then we'll move on from this topic. Even though Sony has not officially come out and said there won't be any more sequels, it looks like any sequels are out of the question. Paul Feig recently did an interview where he said he was never going to work on an established property again, thanks to this movie. So, I mean, the obvious takeaway from that is he's not going to do another Ghostbusters movie, which means, a sequel to this is probably unlikely.
I would like to see him exile to that fucking island they stuck Napoleon on.
St. Helena? In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean?
A place where he can't hurt anyone ever again.
And then on top of that, the Hollywood Reporter is indicating that when all this is said and done, this movie is probably going to end up costing Sony $70 million.
Good.
Like they will be $70 million in the hole that they weren't before they started this whole thing. Because something to take in mind, yeah, it's made $193 million so far, but one, that doesn't even cover the whole marketing and production budget, and two, of that $193 million, it's only around $80 million they actually have, because the other $80 million is actually going to the theaters.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, Sony tried to downplay that, but honestly, this thing flopped. This thing flopped hard. And also, according to the Hollywood Reporter, while Sony is denying any overt panic, apparently the reaction inside Sony is complete dismay, because this was going to be this is going to be the launching point for a quote-unquote Ghostbusters cinematic universe.
Quick, somebody reboot Spider-Man again!
They can't do that, they gave it back to Marvel.
Did they really?
Yeah, because Spider-Man showed up in Civil War.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Because after the Amazing Spider-Man 2 bombed, they were like Marvel had to have a come to Jesus talk. We're like, Sony, we're really worried about you. Let us do it for you.
Oh jeez.
I mean, at this point, all they have is James Bond, and they don't even do James Bond. They're just the distributors. That's Eon Productions. That's all Eon. And so they're basically left with shitty Adam Sandler movies. And, James Bond, kind of, sort of, but again, that's mostly Eon. They just get the distributing rights, so that's not even really theirs.
From what you're telling me about this movie, Adam Sandler may as well have directed it, though I don't even think Adam Sandler would make a fucking queef joke.
He's not shy. He's not shy on the fart jokes.
Yeah, that's different though. Yeah, I don't know.
I would consider Paul Feig and Adam Sandler actually cut from the same cloth. The only difference is Paul Feig has enough wherewithal to not actually star in his own movies. So I suppose that's something.
I remember when Adam Sandler was funny.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that year where Adam Sandler was funny.
I still like Waterboy.
I liked Happy Gilmore better myself, but Waterboy was funny also. Anyways. So yeah, fuck you, Sony. Some things you just don't mess with. You got put in your fucking place. Sit down, son!
Oh, yeah, this has got to be... And apparently the executives are particularly hurt because in this bombing so hard, not only did it ruin their plans for a Ghostbusters cinematic universe, which was going to include a Slimer spin-off, by the way. They're also pissed off that, basically the internet trolls were proven right.
We be trolling, they be hating.
So that's the Ghostbusters saga, and I just find it immensely vindicating that that basically the Ghostbusters franchise is back in the hands of Ivan Reitman, because one, he got screwed in the making of this thing, and two, he actually probably understands what makes Ghostbusters funny. And they kind of pressed him into service to hype this movie up. And in the Cineplex theaters in Canada, what they were doing was like the pre-trailer kind of area where they had like interviews going on from various like musicians and movie makers, and they had Ivan Reitman trying to pump up this Ghostbusters movie. And you could tell that he was not he's like, by the time you get to the third act of this movie, it's something.
It will be a movie, and things will happen, and you will be here watching the things happen. I promise you that. There are things that happen.
So
it's a movie.
So let's leave Sony to their abject failures. By the way, the Sony PlayStation department is like the only thing keeping that company afloat at this point. I just want to point that out. If it wasn't for the PS4 doing gangbusters, Sony would probably be teetering on bankruptcy as an entity.
And they owe that more to Microsoft than themselves.
What, you mean Microsoft fucking fumbling the ball on the Xbox One launch?
Microsoft basically taking out a hand-carved wooden dildo made by a blind man, coating it in hot sauce and sticking it in their own assholes. And then Sony being like, hey, look at them, they're really stupid, buy our shit instead. And everyone's like, yay!
To be fair, hey, Xbox One, that whole Xbox One launch was pretty fucking abysmal.
Oh, it was. It totally was. And then Sony, they did capitalize. Here's how you trade a game on PlayStation 4.
Yeah, that was...
Here, Bob. Thanks, Tom.
But let's move on to Transformers Titans Return, because I've got... there's two aspects of Titans Return. One, I've got the entirety of Wave 1 save Power Master Optimus Prime, who I will be skipping because it's basically just a reshell of that Ultra Magnus leader class toy.
Right.
And I got that Ultra Magnus toy, and I like that Ultra Magnus toy, but I'm not digging the Prime redeco or, reshelling of it. But I've got everything else from Wave 1. Talk a bit about that. One, Sentinel Prime is awesome, and we're getting married, so that's exciting.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's legal now.
Mm-hmm. No, the Supreme Court said so.
Okay.
And then, I've also got Rewind. Well, I got Rewind. Rewind's awesome too. Got him next to Chrome Dome, so that's a happy couple. I could make him kiss and then send the video to Rick Santorum and make him cry.
It shouldn't be hard to make Rick Santorum cry these days.
Leader Class Blaster is great, and I'm actually really digging the little Headmaster gimmick. I thought the Headmaster...
I bet you do.
Oh, shut up. I thought the Headmaster thing would just be something I'd be like, yeah, okay, I guess that's I guess that's part of it, but the whole mix and match DVO is actually really fun. I've even gone ahead and done a bit of I guess you could say modding. Because what they're doing is, at the line's cheapest price point, they've got this, they're selling just individual, Headmasters.
Okay, yeah.
And so, for example, Nightbeat is getting a Headmaster toy, but not a larger toy, so you can just kind of buy Nightbeat's head. But I had an earlier generation's Nightbeat that I took. I removed the head, and now I've actually got a functioning Headmaster Nightbeat. So that's my elite modding skills at work.
Yay!
Galvatron I've got, he's pretty cool. No real complaints there. Everything has been fantastic. I've really got no complaints. I even like Stripes, who is the Tiger cassette that goes with Blaster. A lot of people seem to be hard on Stripes, but I like him. He's a neat little tiger robot. But the main point of this I wanted to talk about, because you and I have both seen this, the Machinima Titans Return series. I think we've both seen the 3 episodes that are out so far.
Right, yeah.
And among the Transformers fandom, reaction seems to be negative, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I have to say I tend to agree with what most people are saying. I'm not a fan of how this has sort of played out.
Okay, well, here's my thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. 1, what the fuck is going on?
That's my, that's my big question too, because, they set things up that apparently combiners are just rampaging all over the place, but I don't understand why. And, Windblade seems to be all pissed off because something happened to her home planet of Canimus, but we never see that happen. She's just pissed off about Canimus, and we don't know. And, yeah, it definitely seems like they had a story in mind, and then they're just we'll start in the middle. And the problem is that because these episodes are all only 5 minutes each, there's really not enough time to do, even a small exposition dump that would probably fill us in on a lot of it.
Yeah, my problems with it are, 1, you have no idea what's going on.
Uh-huh.
2, I really love the animation style, which looks very G1.
The animation style that's fantastic.
The animation quality is horrible.
It's so choppy.
Yeah, their mouths move really weird. It's like you're watching something that's been dubbed over or something, but it's not. But it's really weird. And 3, the length of the episodes, 5 minutes each. Machinima, they're pretty big stuff these days. They're not a mega corporation or anything, but they're certainly bigger and better to do than something like this. But you've got people making machinimas on their own that are longer and better than this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get it. The episodes are only 5 minutes. You can't tell. It's obvious you can't tell a cohesive story in 5 minute increments, or at least not this story, because they just said fuck it, jumped in the middle and expect us to know what the fuck's going on. And at first, I thought it had something to do with the comics that I just wasn't aware of because I haven't read them. But then I ask you, you're like, well, kinda yes, but they're still off on their own thing. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Basically, okay, the best way I can describe its relation to the comics is they've taken concepts from the comics, so the idea of Canimus and Windblade being from there is from the comics. The idea of a council governing Cybertron after the Great War has ended is from the comics. Starscream being the head of that council is from the comics. The Mistress of the Flame, Canimus's religious leader, is from the comics. All of this, so they've taken elements from the comics, but they're then telling their own story. It's completely unrelated to the comics, save for a few shared story concepts. And, yeah, and the animation quality really bugs me, because in the lead-up to this, Machinima was like, yeah, we're outsourcing this to, a Japanese animation company. So you go in expecting, some anime-tastic super robot fighting, and it's just this choppy CGI stuff that, looks worse than the CGI that was going on in, the Energon show from 2005.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's I on the whole, I mean, I'm glad that it's there. I'm glad it's a thing that's happened because at least it's not R.I. Derp.
Yeah, that's true.
And it is better than R.I. Derp, I think, at least from a narrative standpoint, even though the narrative is just all over the place. But still, it's not what I would have expected or hoped for or wanted or liked. I mean, it's got a lot they can do, but then again, so did R.I. Derp, and they fucked that over, so...
Yeah, it's really frustrating because the current comics are fantastic, and they're using a lot of the same elements, and there's a lot of potential in those elements, and there's a lot of interesting stories you could tell with those elements, and they just don't seem to be doing anything properly. It is frustrating to sit through. I do kind of like how Windblade's entire relationship with Optimus seems to be, "You're not my real dad!"
Yeah, I mean,
that amused me.
It is kind of amusing. I still don't know, like, why Prime looks like he's just kind of become like a fucking drunken hobo.
Well, see, again, that's another thing I don't get, because Optimus Prime, Optimus Prime isn't part of the ruling council of Cybertron in the comics, but he's also not, like, an exile either. He's just, like, a dude on Cybertron who a lot of people seem to respect because he's a Prime, and that holds religious significance on Cybertron. But, like, he's not this disheveled, exiled hobo that he seems to be in this.
Yeah, and the way they were talking, like, even like Wadamus, it was like they were talking like they didn't like him, or they thought he, it's almost like they've come to the conclusion, well, this war was bad and blah, 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 and fuck Megatron and Prime because it was their fucking war and blah, blah, blah. That was kind of like the vibe I was getting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh God, are they trying to include some kind of fucking hippie undertones in this bullshit?
I don't think this show is smart enough for any sort of undertone. I'm being perfectly honest.
I don't know. The whole thing is, there's so much potential there, but it's just not going to ever realize that I've come to that conclusion, so...
I mean, I'm going to keep watching it because for all of the kvetching people did about the fact that it's an exclusive to Go 90, fact is, Go 90, it's a Verizon run thing, but you don't actually need to have a Verizon account to watch it. You can just go to go90.com and you can just watch the episodes. So they're only 5 minutes long, and it is about a property that I do enjoy, so I'm going to keep watching it just because it's almost a zero-effort thing just to keep up with it.
I mean, I'll watch it. I mean, I disagree with them making it exclusive to... Because I'd never heard of this fucking Go 90 thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they should put, any kind of Transformers show on the medium that's actually, that people have heard of, I would say.
Well, this isn't a Transformers decision. That decision was from Machinima. Apparently, Machinima has an exclusivity arrangement with Go 90.
Well, Hasbro should have been like, yeah, no.
Apparently, Verizon showed up to Machinima's headquarters with a big bag of cash.
So,
So,
well, whatever.
let's move on to the Wowening, the Warcraft part 2 of the 3-part Warcraft Spectacular. The Legion pre-launch event has it went live last week. The second part of it went live yesterday. Let's talk about that, Jack. I'm just gonna put a statement out there, and you can be free to agree or disagree, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
this makes Warlords of Draenor's pre-launch event look like fucking amateur hour.
Warlords of Draenor's launch event was fucking amateur hour, and it really wouldn't have taken all that much at all to really do that. It was, I mean, because I remember when you and I did it, because we grouped up and did it together, and we go through it, and we're like, is that it?
Hey, look, the Iron Horde took over like an eighth of Blasted Lands. That was pretty touch and go there for a while.
I mean, it wasn't even the quantity of event, because, I mean, it was like, what, a 15-minute quest chain, I think was at most.
Yeah.
Was pretty much the end of it. It wasn't even that. It was the quality of the quests, that they were just basically your standard, go bring me, 10 orc testicles kind of things. And they were your basic fetch quests. There was no real, like, a compelling narrative with it. There was no sense of threat or urgency or anything like that. It was, hey, go kill more orcs. Okay, now go up here. You see the telescope? Ooh, they're coming through the portal. We better do something.
Oh.
And, at the end of it, you're standing there at the fucking portal, and Khadgar's all like, oh, this is a suicide mission, yada, yada, yada. And even when you click to go through the portal, it's like, you're going to go to Draenor, and you may not be able to return. Do you still want to go? And I'm like, whatever, fine. And it's like, hey, my Hearthstone works just fine, guys. Oh, we're stuck here. No, really, my Hearthstone, it works fine. We are so stuck here. We are marooned in this savage land. Meanwhile, my character's holding up his Hearthstone. Look, you dumb motherfuckers, it works fine.
Not only that, but like at level 92, you got the quest to send you to Ashran, your capital on Ashran, which had portals to all like the major alliance capitals on Azeroth.
Yeah, I mean, so the pre-launch event, if you want to call it that, for Draenor was really just phoned in, much like Draenor itself was largely phoned in. I don't know. Draenor itself was kind of like, for half of it, it seemed like they really tried, and then the rest, they just kind of, meh, whatever.
I think there was a lot of trials and tribulations there. Like, they had some ideas of how things were going to work that just did not match reality.
Yeah. But for Legion, it's been the exact opposite. Everything's been really well done. It's been really interesting. It totally blows. It blows pretty much every expansion event. Because, I mean, for Pandaria, we didn't even get an actual launch event. We got a scenario that we could go queue up for and run. Yeah, and that was it. And that was kind of, I mean, it was certainly better than Warlords of Draenor, but it was still kind of sucky because you're like, oh, hey, because the pre-launch events for World of Warcraft are usually something pretty cool, like, they had the zombie invasion for Lich King, and then for Cataclysm, you had, like, weeks of these really weird earthquakes. And you had people posting on forums, is it me, or, kind of a thing, because Blizzard didn't say shit about it. And that was pretty cool. And then you had this thing where Stormwind was overran by elementals, and blah, 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 blah. Then you had that fucking stupid scenario for Pandaria, and that's kind of like, oh, that's kind of lame. Oh, wait, you thought that was lame. Wait, you see what we got for you. And so this is, by and large, the best pre-expansion event since I've been playing.
Neither of us were around for the Lich King pre-launch event, but a lot of people have compared it to that, and that seems to have been well received.
Definitely.
So let's talk about like the two aspects to it. First, let's talk about the Demon Hunters. We both have created Demon Hunters. We have both engaged in the edgelordening. So what did you think of the Demon Hunter starting zone? Like, not the zone, but the Demon Hunter starting experience.
I liked it. It was about what I expected it to be, which was kind of in format very similar to how the Death Knight starting experience was.
Less boring speeches from Arthas.
Yeah, minus the boring speeches from Arthas. Instead, you had boring speeches from Illidan. Actually, well, now you really didn't hear much out of him.
No, he just gets his pathetic ass raffle-pwned off screen.
You were not prepared.
Apparently, neither was he, because... Just saying.
Yeah, someone totally should have said that. So basically, the Demon Hunter starting experience takes place
during the Black Temple raid from BC.
Yeah, when the miscellaneous heroes, without Thrall or Khadgar or anyone, they went in there all by themselves. They go in there and sack Illidan, but the whole thing takes place. It starts when Illidan says, oh, hey, there was a bunch of scrub lords breaking in. Y'all go do the thing to the Legion and blah, blah, blah. And then come back and help me out when you're done. I've totally got this. What could possibly go wrong? And so, your character goes and does a bunch of shit on this planet where the Legion, basically kind of like their homeworld kind of a thing.
It's Mall Dune. It's like the Legion. It's not Argus, but it's like close to Argus, I guess.
Yeah. And you go through and you do all these quests, and then when you come back, you find out that Illidan's been killed. And I just wish that someone would have said he was not prepared.
Oh, well, that would have pissed off a lot of people, because they were jumping all over Blizzard for doing the not prepared thing, and they're like, they're running that meme into the ground.
Well, it's funny at this point.
It is funny, and Illidan, he sucks, so I'm happy about that.
I actually really liked it. So,
how do you think the Demon Hunter plays? I know we don't like to get into mechanics too much on this show, but just general broad strokes. How do you like the way that the Demon Hunter functions as a class?
From a game design standpoint, I would say they really tried to do something different with it. It seems, in terms of, in some ways, it does feel like your standard WoW character, because here lately in the last 3 expansions, all of the classes have kind of fallen into this archetype of resource spend, resource create kind of thing. Like, you use this attack and it'll give you 5 points of what the fuck ever your class uses, and then you save up 20 or 30 points of that, then you hit this button which will get rid of all of that and give you a pretty big number on the screen, but not too big because we're too stupid to handle large numbers. And so, to a degree, it's more of that. But the playstyle, which feels to be a lot more all over the place and kind of I don't know how to describe it. It's a lot more mobile than most classes seem to be, which I think is pretty cool.
Well, there's a lot of jumping around, and there's that vengeful retreat move where you're jumping back and attacking at the same time. It's very kinetic.
Yeah.
I like it. I created the Demon Hunter and I tried it out, and I'll keep him around a while. I'm not deleting him out of disinterest. So good on him for that. The other thing that I wanted to ask about, the Demon Invasion. Not necessarily the Demon Invasion, but the Broken Shore event. That the Broken Shore event, which sort of leads into the Demon Invasion. So, let's talk about the Broken Shore event, because as someone who digs the Worgen and Gilneas, Gen Greymane fucking rafflepones.
I don't disagree.
I dig his new character model. I dig his swanky brown coat. And, I thought Alliance side, I've played it on both the Horde and Alliance side. I think Alliance side, you get the Alliance heroes come out really well, because I don't like gnomes, and even I thought Mechatork, had a cool moment or two in that thing. The gnomish leader. I thought even he kind of got a moment to shine and kind of be cool.
Yeah, I mean, they had to give him basically an Iron Man suit to make sure you could see him.
I thought that was kind of cool, actually.
But, yeah.
And Gen Gen was badass. And Varian, we've known this for a while. King Varian dies. But, he's not truly dead, because gangsters never truly die.
Lol.
He went out like a fucking gangster.
Indeed, and then he got disenchanted.
I mean, this is call it nerdy if you want. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I had a fist bump moment when Gul'dan's like, you sacrificed your life for nothing. He's like, for the Alliance. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, what I find funny, though, is, it only took a couple days for people to start posting on MMO Champion, Varian's going to be resurrected, and he's going to be fighting for the Legion, and it's like, you dumb motherfucker, he exploded into a bajillion pieces. He disintegrated at the molecular fucking level, and you've seen it happen.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, he's as dead can get.
He's as dead as little Timmy's legs.
Yeah, right? Too soon. I mean, it's basically like Blizzard wanted to make sure that you knew.
I mean, they even did the shot of his, super powerful god sword, and, the light in the hilt went out. I mean, he's dead. But I liked it. I love Varian's character. I was, of course, very apprehensive when I found out that he was going to be dying, but I have to say, I thought his death was awesome. He went out like a gangster, and I think that's hilarious. He jumps off the gunship, takes out a Fel Reaver, and then he's surrounded by demons, and it's well, me versus a million demons. I can only realistically hope to take out half of them, but maybe I'll get lucky.
Yeah. You're gonna need more demons.
And so, and then, it ends with it, and then the cinematic end, Varian sacrifices his life to save the Alliance gunship, goes out with his defiant for the Alliance, and then, Gen has the Khan moment.
Lol.
And let's talk about the bitches that the Horde were.
Well, as usual, they sucked.
Well, first of all, Varian dies because Sylvanas is like, nah. But more specifically, on the Alliance side, Mechatork had a cool moment, Gen was badass, Varian died like a goddamn hero. Horde side, Sylvanas is the only competent one. Because you've got fucking Vol'jin, who did fuck all as war chief, by the way.
Well, he only had one term, sir.
He goes out from fucking, mob trash.
Yeah. It'd been funny if, they showed him laying there with his broken tusk in the background here.
God. Yeah, so, some generic, trash demon takes out Vol'jin, war chief of the Horde, and then Sylvanas is looking around the battlefield. Thrall has been knocked on his ass and is trying to crawl towards the Doomhammer. Bane is like, it's a bug hunt, man! A bug hunt!
Game over, man! Game over!
And then you've got, Vol'jin children, and he just kind of goes out. And Sylvanas is like, well, if I'm surrounded by idiots, time to get the fuck out of here.
Scrub lords.
I guess this is what I get for hitching my wagon to Team Horde.
Yeah. I should re-roll Alliance.
God. And so she takes off. And that's like the Horde. So it's not like on Horde. It's like the Horde came off like a bunch of bitches. One last thing. Tyrion Fordring gets raffle pulled by Gul'dan.
Yes.
Which was immensely satisfying for you.
Yes.
Oh, and it's and then on top of that, like when you finally meet Gul'dan and like Varian is all like, it's like surrender Gul'dan, and Gul'dan is like, I have reinforcements, and like every Burning Legion boss from every expansion comes back. And Lord Jaraxxus is like, we have returned. And you're like typing in general chat, you were the second boss in a filler raid. Shut up.
Yeah.
You got summoned by a gnome.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Lord Jaraxxus is the last one to be talking shit to people.
So let's talk a bit now about the event that launched yesterday. I guess before we talk about that in general, let's talk about Dalaran. What did you think of Dalaran 2.0?
I really like it. I mean, it's Dalaran, so I mean, you know, it doesn't. I mean, it looks different, but it doesn't.
That's exactly how I would describe it. Like. The best way, they've given it like a facelift, more or less. But it's subtle. It's so subtle that, like, you can't even really tell what's been changed, but you just know that it has been.
Yeah. It's basically, they did it with the same mindset that they took when they introduced the new character models.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want it to look new, you want it to look, you know, you want to take advantage of modern design and computing technology, and be high res and high def and just plain high.
Not only Chris Metzen when he has the nose candy.
Yeah, you want it to be all those things, but yet at the same time, you don't want people to be like, you niggas ruined my DeLorean! You know, so it's they did right. And to be fair, they did the easiest thing as well. I mean, they didn't redesign DeLorean. They just gave it a facelift.
Well,
they added one or two new structures, but that was about it.
Well, considering that the whole point of this is remember why you loved us.
Yeah.
They couldn't really change DeLorean 2.0 because the whole point to bring back DeLorean was like, you remember Lich King, right? And so DeLorean couldn't be too different. Like, I dig it. I popped into the Alliance Enclave. They've got a really cool Knights of the Silver Hand sort of dealio going there. And you and I have been wanting the Silver Hand back for a while now, and with Tyrion finally dying, that abomination known as the Argent Crusade will finally give way to the Silver Hand, like it should have a long time ago.
Citizens of Dalaran!
Oh, Ronan is finally gone.
So, backstory on that kind of inside joke there. During Wrath of the Lich King, there was this raid called Ulduar. And Ulduar had this hidden boss, Algalon. And you had to beat all
Algalon the Observer.
Yeah, he watches you poop. Anyway, so you had to beat all the other bosses on their hard modes to access Algalon. And when you did... Because keep in mind, back then, you know, when it was current content, this was shit that only top-tier rating groups were able to do. It was a rare occurrence that someone downed Algalon. And when you did, you were given a quest item that you would take back to Dalaran, and you give to this NPC named Ronan.
Who was then the head of the Karen Tor, the rulers of Dalaran. He dies in a book.
He dies in a book.
Like a bitch.
Like a bitch. So... you give this to Ronan, and he comes walking out of the Violet, whatever the fuck it's called.
Violet Citadel, I think?
Whatever. As he comes walking out into the street, and he goes, down the block to the next street corner, and next to their fountain or whatever, and he goes on this long speech that starts with "Citizens of Dalaran," and back then you almost maybe once every couple weeks maybe you would see it happen and be like, oh hey, that's cool, someone got Algalon down, yay. And now though all this content is soloable. And everyone is going in and soloing it. You literally hear it once every 2 to 5 minutes. You can't go into Dalaran without hearing "Citizens of Dalaran, cast your eyes to the skies and observe."
Algalon the Observer. I think I could almost recite it word for word by this point.
I think I could too. But yeah,
but now that Dalaran's been updated, Ronan's been dead for a few expansions, so that whole thing's gone now.
Well, yeah, except now I'm going to just have to yell it now and then.
Just go into general chat in Dalaran. "Citizens of Dalaran, cast your eyes to the skies and observe." So yeah, I mean, I am honestly really happy with. I thought that the events, the event that launched yesterday, it was a bit anticlimactic because you go to Ulduar, which is another, that's from Lich King, but you really don't do much there, and then you go to Kirzan, and you do some stuff there, then you come back to Dalaran, and Dalaran's in the middle of a demon invasion, but there's really no questing, and it's kind of confusing. Like, it kind of just abruptly ends.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I thought it was a bit anticlimactic, but apparently next week, I haven't announced anything, but if I had to guess, next week would be the Exodar quest chain, where Valen kind of has his "we're not going to take it" moment.
Is that going to be a thing?
That is the last part of that is the only part of the whole pre-Legion beta experience that hasn't been put out yet. So yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that there was an Exodar quest chain.
Yeah, you go. Basically, the Burning Legion invades the Exodar, and you have to go and save him. And spoilers, but at the end, the Legion commander who's leading the assault turns out to be Valen's kid who killed Jaden Corrupted. And you have to kill him, and Valen, holds his dead son, and then he goes to, the Draenei second-in-command. He's like, "Finish the repairs on the Exodar. We're going home." Which is Argus.
Right.
So Valen saw his kid get, corrupted, and I guess now he's in fuck the Burning Legion mode. I look forward to it. If and when, we down-kill Jaden for good, I want Valen to get the kill just so he can have a Shatner moment. I have had enough of you! Because, dude, Kill Jaden's been fucking with Valen across the galaxy forever now.
Yeah.
And, he's fine. He killed his son, basically. So now, yeah, I want Kill Jaden. I want Valen to get the kill shot on Kill Jaden. And go all Shatner on him.
Why not? I mean, we don't ever get to kill anything anymore, so may as well let Valen have a whack at it.
And so, yeah, that's Valen. So that, I think, is what's going to happen next week, because they said they want to do something every week until Legion launches, which I think is good. It kind of... It's a good way to tease, I think. And I'm fine with it. I know some people are like, can't they give it to us all at once? But I don't mind this approach.
No, I mean, it gives you something to look forward to. And it makes sure that, it's not in such a large clump that, a person who has a busy schedule and only has maybe an hour or so a week can get on and do it and not feel like they've missed anything. Because, I mean, you and I got all the shit, all the transmog gear from the Legion invasion. We did basically, I'd say, in maybe about an hour and a half to 2 hours of playtime at the most. And most of that time was spent flying to various places.
And on those Legion invasions where you go to the different zones of the world and fight them off, I really like them. Stage 3 is always bullshit.
Yeah, it feels kind of tedious. I mean,
Stage 3 is bullshit, but even though I'm not a fan of Stage 3, all in all, I do like them.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't have a problem with them, but yeah, Stage 3.
It's not that bad if you just bring up your map and fly to wherever you see the green shit. But then the thing is, it's like, okay, because I've had it happen a couple times where I'll fly to one of the Legion bases, and I'm the only one there. And you know damn well one person can't take out that shit. Oh, well, fuck, now what do I do? So I go and fly to another one.
Oh, yeah. So again, Legion is gonna be a 2-year expansion. It's gonna have at least, what they say, 3 patches?
Yeah.
3 major content patches. So there's a lot that pertains to Legion that we just don't know about. But with that said, this has got me excited for it. Just the amount of work they've put into this launch event alone, I'm digging. That gives me hope for Legion. And
they've already got patch 7.1 ready to go, basically. They said it's going to go on the PTR. It's basically about the same time Legion launches. And yeah.
And how long did they say it would be between launch and, just a couple months?
They didn't say. I'm just going on normally how long it takes them to get a patch from the PTR onto the live server, and normally that's anywhere from 2 to 3 months. So, yeah.
Look, they seem. I mean, I'm psyched. I know you're psyched. I know we're both very cynical, and Warlords of Draenor soured us to a lot of stuff. But I think so far, if we just compare what they've released so far in this Legion pre-launch event compared to the Warlords of Draenor pre-launch event, there's already a distinct contrast in the amount of time and effort put into it. So,
oh yeah, you can tell that they actually tried on this one.
So, yeah.
Without the copied and pasted fucking text between Alliance and Horde.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, Khadgars, I'm going to suggest that we let the Horde to $1 and no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Jaina's going to go to Kul Tiras and make the Alliance great again.
Indeed, Jaina 2016.
Gonna build a wall. Gonna make the Horde pay for it.
I'm down.
Greymane Proudmoore 2016. Make the Alliance great again.
Lol.
Alrighty, so that wraps up part 2 of the 3-part Warcraft Spectacular. Anything else you wanted to bring up, Jack?
No. I think I'm good.
And I am likewise good. Oh, one more thing to just kind of drop in there, and maybe we can turn this into a full discussion. I'll leave that up to you, but Voltron, Legendary Defender is fucking awesome, and everyone should watch it.
Agreed.
Space Druids.
Lol.
But anyway, you can catch us at basically a sportshow.com. You can also catch basically a geek show along with basically a sports show and basically a football show on Spreaker, Stitcher, and YouTube. You can catch us on Twitter at @egeekshow, and you can email us at basicallyageekshow@gmail.com. And so for Jack, this is Mike, signing off episode 70.
Good night, everybody.